Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Can the presidential candidates solve dangerous problems? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. With 5 days left in the campaign, both candidates are ramping up the rhetoric. I think it would be fair to say that both Trump and Clinton know what the problems are, but have mostly put forth general solutions. Here's a prime example. Speaking in Florida yesterday, Hillary Clinton spotlighted the danger that some young Americans face on the streets where they live. Mrs. Clinton apparently believing the gun threat is upending society.
Something is wrong when young people just starting their lives are dying. Something is wrong when so many parents live in fear that their child will be hurt or killed. Going to the movies, sitting in a first-grade classroom, attending a Bible study. The list goes on. This has nothing to do with the Second Amendment and responsible gun owners.
What Hillary Clinton has to know is that so far this year in the city of Chicago, 585 people have been killed and 3,100 wounded by gunfire, most of those poor black Americans. But the problem is not gun control. Chicago and the state of Illinois have strict gun possession measures, but obviously the thugs who are shooting people don't really care about those measures, do they? Therefore, it is a total waste of time for Hillary Clinton or any other politician to say that more gun control measures are going to solve the problem of street violence. There is a solution, but neither Clinton nor Trump have mentioned it. In the USA, anyone committing any crime with a gun, even simple illegal possession, should be subject to federal mandatory prison sentences. All gun crimes should become federal crimes. That means that if cops in Chicago find a gang member or anybody else carrying an illegal weapon, they'll be prosecuted by a U.S. attorney. And if convicted, serve at least 5 years in a federal penitentiary. That way, American law enforcement everywhere can not only take guns off the streets, but people who illegally carry them and or use them to commit crimes. They're off the streets as well. And the upshot, pardon the pun, is that legal gun owners would be left alone. Now, that's a simple solution, but Hillary Clinton would never support it because she and many other liberals believe there are too many Americans in prison and we should be more understanding of criminal behavior. That mindset has led to carnage in cities like Chicago, Baltimore, and St. Louis. Talking Points does not know whether Donald Trump would support federalizing gun crimes, but he should. Mr. Trump has been endorsed by the NRA and says he will uphold the rights of Americans to defend themselves with firearms. But he and every other politician must know that criminals can easily get guns, and that situation has to be confronted. So, when we vote for president next Tuesday, we the people might think about candidates who really want to solve problems, as opposed to candidates who just want to blow smoke. And that's the memo. Now for the top story reaction, joining us from Washington, Horace Cooper, Senior Fellow at the Heartland Institute, a conservative think tank. So do you resent people like Hillary Clinton speaking so generally about crime? We all know how horrendous it is in certain neighborhoods in the USA. But I have no confidence that Hillary Clinton or her party would do anything to stop it. And they haven't in Chicago. That's a Democratic-run city.
585 plus lives have just gone practically unnoticed. And in fact, if you listen carefully to the presentation that she made yesterday in Florida, it would appear that your greatest risk is while reading the Bible, while sitting in the classroom, or going to a movie. Anytime anybody is shot anywhere, it is tragic. But what is happening in too many cities, and now San Antonio, Texas just announced that they have set a 25-year record for the number of homicides and shootings that are taking place. When you start seeing this with such regularity, it is clear that she and progressives alike are ignoring these tragic deaths to pursue a wholly different agenda, an agenda that won't in any way minimize this continuing carnage from taking place.
All right.
And I think it's particularly bad in the black community.
I haven't seen, though, in the Republican Party anybody call for the program that I just laid out. And again, I'm doing this so that people understand the difference between rhetoric, all right? See, the battle lines are liberal left, more gun control, more regulations, more everything. And on the right, nothing. Nothing. Free fire zone, carry permits for everybody, this and that. But both sides ignore the criminal element that are going to use guns to advance their narcotics dealing, to settle grudges. They're going to do it. Whether you're on the right or the left, they're going to do it. This gives law enforcement a powerful tool. If you are caught with an illegal gun, that's a 5 right there. And if you rob a 7-Eleven with the gun, that's a 5 on top of whatever you get for robbing a 7-Eleven. So I don't understand why both sides just don't say, you want to solve this problem? That's the way to do it.
Well, we have an example of where this kind of scenario has actually worked. In the early 90s, we were experiencing an exhibited number, or high elevated number, of carjackings where people sitting at the stoplight, and the Congress of the United States responded by turning that crime, which was happening with too much frequency, into a federal crime. But there was an additional thing. Both the first Bush administration and the first Clinton administration issued directives to U.S. attorneys to prioritize these types of enforcement.
Right.
These things have a real effect because they raise the cost of criminality.
That's right.
In
the risk reward for the criminal. Now, that's a brilliant point, Mr. Cooper, and I had never even thought of it. That the carjacking epidemic that we saw was pretty much stopped in its tracks.
In its tracks.
And so was kidnapping, if you go way back to the Lindbergh baby, when the FBI said, okay, any kidnapping, we're going to deal with it. And the punishment is going to be heinous. Going to be heinous. So the kidnappings largely stopped in America as well. But the gun crime, this is an epidemic. We see it now. It's been going on for years. I don't believe Hillary Clinton can solve it if she gets elected. I don't even think she'll even try. Last word.
Well, we absolutely need to start talking about the real kinds of solutions. One of the things that Donald Trump's urban initiative is looking more comprehensively at some of the problems that plague the community. The hopelessness that is caused by the unions and all of these other problems where our systems fail communities lead them to this elevated level of criminality. The left won't let us talk about the elevated level of criminality.
No, they want to deflect it off into, they don't want guns, anybody to have guns, and that's their agenda. Mr. Cooper, we really appreciate your point of view. Thank you. Next on the rundown, Donald Trump speaking in